and welcome back to the Back on Track Achieving Healthy Weight Loss podcast, where we dive into practical tips, evidence-based strategies, and current news to help you live your healthiest life. I'm your host, Dr. Alicia Shelley, and I'm so glad you're tuning in today. Now, unless you've been living under a rock, you might have heard a very surprising announcement recently. So President Donald Trump announced that he had convinced Coca-Cola to use real cane sugar in its U.S. cola. And he did this on his Truth Social app. And it made me wonder, I was like, what sugar does Coca-Cola use currently? And you know what? I was not surprised that they use high fructose corn syrup, which we can find in a lot of processed foods. And I was surprised to learn that Coca-Cola started to incorporate high fructose corn syrup in the early 1980s due to it usually being cheaper and just readily available in the country. Now, whether or not Coca-Cola actually decides to do this, and we'll definitely get into that, this is just a great opportunity to unpack what high fructose corn syrup actually is and why isn't in so many of our foods. And why does this potential change could mean a very big deal here in the States. But first off, let's talk about what high fructose corn syrup is. And we'll start with the basics. So high fructose corn syrup is a processed sweetener made from cornstarch. It's chemically altered to convert some of its glucose, which is a sugar that we can find inside our body, and food, and especially the food that we eat, is broken down into glucose, but it converts some of that glucose into fructose. Fructose is a type of sugar that's naturally found in fruit. This process makes the high fructose corn syrup taste more sweeter, especially sweeter than regular table sugar. Also, it's cheaper to produce and more shelf stable, which is why food companies love using it. It's easier to use, it's cheaper, and you can find high fructose corn syrup in so many of our packaged and processed foods. Some of the most common examples include soda, juice, candy, cakes, pastries, breakfast cereals, even condiments like ketchup and salad dressing have high fructose corn syrup. I mean, it is literally everywhere, especially in the standard American diet. So, with it being so readily available, why is high fructose corn syrup a problem? And why should we care, right? Why are so many people, including doctors, dietitians, people like myself, who are so concerned about high fructose corn syrup? Here's the deal. High fructose corn syrup has been linked to a variety of health problems, especially when consumed in large amounts. Some of these issues can be associated with weight gain and obesity, high triglycerides, which is a type of cholesterol. Insulin resistance can lead to prediabetes and type 2 diabetes. Also, high fructose corn syrup has been seen to increase type 2 diabetes, heart disease, high blood pressure, and even other elevated cholesterol levels. I remember when I first started practicing, I had this young lady, she was in her 30s, and she was having such high blood pressure. And I tried everything. I was giving her medications, it wasn't working. Her blood pressure was still high every time she came back. I then asked her, what types of sugary beverages are you drinking? And she said to me, Doc, I drink a whole case of soda each and every day. And I was like, there we go. So I had her cut back on the soda and eventually cut it out. And then her blood pressure became more manageable. So these food products that have high fructose corn syrup can contribute to people who are having high blood pressure, type 2 diabetes, and sometimes just decreasing that can actually help improve your metabolic condition. The other thing that high fructose corn syrup can cause is inflammation in the body, throughout the body. So if you're experiencing a lot of arthritis, a lot of pain, cut back on those high fructose corn syrup, and it may actually help you feel better. It can reduce that inflammation. I've had a lot of patients who cut back on the carbohydrates in their diet, the high fructose corn syrup, and they found that their inflammation improved. So if you're experiencing that, definitely try it. The other thing is that the high fructose corn syrup, it just provides a lot of empty calories without the nutrients and the vitamins that you need. It actually can fill you up where you feel satisfied, but guess what? It's no nutrients, so you're losing out. Now, I will admit, sugar is sugar at the end of the day, but the way high fructose corn syrup is processed, and how it behaves in your body, especially in that liquid form like sodas, it can really lead to spiked blood sugar, and it can also promote the liver to store more fat and trigger a cascade of other metabolic conditions. So the concern is not just theoretical, it's practical. And unfortunately, as Americans, we consume too much added sugar. And the reason being is that high fructose corn syrup is a major contributor. So let's go back to today and figure out, what did Trump say and what does it mean for us? Now, back to that bold claim that Donald Trump said on his Truth Social. Trump stated that Coca-Cola would be replacing high fructose corn syrup with cane sugar, which is considered a more natural sweetener. But at the time of this recording, Coca-Cola has not confirmed this switch. In fact, they sent an email to CBS News that read, "We appreciate President Trump's enthusiasm for our iconic Coca-Cola brand. More details on our new innovative offerings within our Coca-Cola products will be shared soon." So you read between the lines on whether they actually plan to switch or not. But if we think hypothetically, if it does happen, what could that mean for us? First, let's be clear, cane sugar is not a healthy food. It's still sugar, and it still has calories. But I will admit it is less processed form compared to high fructose corn syrup. And it doesn't carry the same metabolic red flags, especially when consumed in moderation. Some people also report some fewer cravings and some better satiety or fullness with cane sugar compared to high fructose corn syrup. But I will admit the research is still emerging, so we still have a lot more that we need to learn. But if a major brand like Coca-Cola makes this shift, it could push or encourage other food manufacturers to reconsider their ingredients, to possibly making that shift as well. It can also create a demand for cleaner labels. And it can also help raise awareness among consumers about what they're drinking and eating. And it will be just a small step, but a great step, a big step in the right direction. So what should you do with all this knowledge? Whether or not Coke follows through, you have the power to make informed choices. And here are a few practical tips that you can do right now. First thing, read the nutritional label. Look for the ingredients like high fructose corn syrup and try to limit those foods in your diet. And make sure you look at the first few ingredients as well, because the first ingredient is the most ingredient in that food product. Also, try choosing natural sweeteners when needed, like honey, maple syrup, agave, monk fruit. But make sure it's still in moderation, because sugar is sugar. Also, you need to watch your sugar intake. The American Heart Association recommends no more than 36 grams of added sugar per day for men and 25 grams for women. Also, it's important to drink more water. Cut back on those sugary drinks and try either, if you don't like the taste of plain water, you can try to flavor seltzers, you can try herbal teas instead. Also important to focus on the whole foods. The less processed your diet is, the less likely you're going to be consuming these hidden sugars. I know we cannot control every ingredient and every product, but awareness is the first step towards change, and it's key. And while I'm not in the habit of quoting Donald Trump in my nutritional advice, if his claim about Coca-Cola is true, I truly hope that this sparks a larger movement across the food industry, one that prioritizes health over shelf life. So make sure you keep reading your labels, keep asking questions, and keep putting your health first. Thank you so much for listening to the Back on Track Achieving Healthy Weight Loss podcast. If you found this episode helpful, share it with a friend. And don't forget to subscribe for more conversations like this one. But until next time, stay strong, stay committed, and stay consistent. And we'll see you next time.